Stats. Feature to any competitive sport out there. Whether it's pro football, basketball, tennis, bag throwing, esports, whatever you're into, there's gonna be stats for it. Stats can show a lot, but they don't tell the full story. Pro gaming is much more than who got the most kills and the least deaths. It comes down to working as a team, pushing at the right time, holding an angle, blocking an area, playing the objective, and so much more. One of my favorite stats to pay attention to in Halo is shots fired or shots hit. In my opinion, this best shows how much damage you're outputting or how many fights you were in or just how much of an impact you're making in the game. Some people prefer to look at that damage stat though, because it just seems like a much more impressive number, but that stat seems to be a little deceiving. To be fair though, the shots fired and shots hit stat can also be skewed depending on the weapon that you're using. In the HCS rule set, you start the game with a single shot Bandit rifle, but let's say you spend a good portion of that game using the 3-round burst BR. If you shoot the BR once, it shoots 3 bullets opposed to the Bandit's 1. So you're shooting more bullets and doing the same amount of damage. Or are you doing the same amount of damage? There's been plenty of games of mine where I'll have the most shots hit, but not the most amount of damage dealt. Even without me using weapons that would skew that number. I would have the most shots hit, the second most kills, the most assists, but I would be a couple thousand damage less than the person with the most kills. This confuses and frustrates me, to tell you the truth, considering everybody pays attention to that damage stat. In a weird game like Halo Infinite, I always wondered if certain weapons do more damage than others, and I'm not just implying like the sniper rifle versus a bandit. Obviously, they do different damage. This thought or theory that I had inspired me to make this video, so I spent hours in custom games just testing different weapons and different variations of dealing damage to Spartans to see why is this damage stat so different game to game and depending on what how many shots you have fired and hit and all that stuff. I really was curious to see, are certain weapons or certain strategies doing more damage in game than they actually seem to be doing. There's a lot of weird number differences when it comes to doing damage, and I will discuss that throughout this entire video. So stay tuned to see all the weird numbers, including the least amount of damage you can do to a Spartan with one shot. Since the HCS rule set starts off with the bandit rifle, I figured that'd be the best place to start in this video. 4 shots to the body and a headshot gets you that whopping 229 damage. I'm sure that's exactly the number that you guys were all thinking about. Okay, so what if you just got the person one shot? Just 4 shots to the body, 139 damage. So each shot would be about 34.75 damage a shot, and the final headshot would be 90 to round up that total from 139 to 229, which equates to about a 2.589 ... numbers going on forever multiplier from a body shot to a final headshot. But like I kind of hinted at earlier in the video, there's more to damage than just shooting. There's also things like melees. So how much does a melee do? 141. So just 2 more damage points than 4 shots with the bandit rifle. I don't really think that those 2 damage points would really add up throughout a game to be that significant of like a multi-thousand different damage game, right? What if you meleeed and then shot the Spartan in the head? Still 229. So that 2 extra damage difference at the end of the day doesn't really mean anything, considering most of the time that's how you get those kills is melee and then headshot. What about 2 melees? Still 229, okay. What about a back smack? 229. What about a 3-shot melee? 229. I think we're seeing a pattern. All right, so melees and shooting do damage. What else? Grenades. A single grenade will do 140 damage, so still in that ballpark range of melees and 4 shots. But notice how in this clip, I actually did damage to myself. Doing damage to yourself does count towards the damage taken stat, but it does not add damage to the damage dealt stat. So before you start going to do some self-inflicting damage to boost your damage stat, just know that it doesn't actually do that. I also tested a grenade headshot and double grenades, which both resulted in that 229 number. Earlier, I was talking about how I'd have the most assists in a game, but not the most damage. So if you do 4 shots of damage and your teammate gets the final shot, how much damage do you do and how much damage do they do? Well, to no actual surprise, you do that 139 damage as previously stated, and then your teammate actually just does 90 damage, which is kind of what we expected with the math we did earlier. So although you do about 1.5 more damage than them, a little bit more than 1.5 more damage, you actually do 4 times the amount of shots. So that could be a discrepancy there. What if you shoot somebody 3 times though, and your teammate shoots them twice and gets the kill? Well, you'll do 105 damage, and your teammate will do 124 damage, equaling that 229 damage that we keep seeing. So that's a 19 damage difference, which in like a 20 to 30 kill game, that could add up quite a bit. Maybe I'm also just saying that to make me feel a little bit better about my games. Okay, all these numbers that we've been talking about though have been perfect kills. What if you only shoot the body? Well, I guess you could guess it by now. 228 damage. Wait, what? I originally thought that 229 damage was the like kind of special number to go for, but hey, it is what it is. Let's try a perfect kill with the BR though. You guessed it, 222 damage. I'm just like, what? Okay, sure, that's only a 7 damage difference, but now I'm just wondering, why is there that difference? You know, hearing this 229 damage number, I was thinking maybe it's an even 225, and those 4 extra damage points is kind of just overkill just to make sure you get the kill. But once again, that BR is 222 damage. So is the Spartan health 220 damage, and then the rest is kind of just overkill? I don't know. I guess we'll find out here soon. All right, so we tested the Bandit body shots only. Let's test the BR body shots only. 216. Huh? So that 220 number of damage that I was just talking about is just useless, because 216 apparently is the amount of damage that you can do to a Spartan and kill him. So what is happening? A BR 2-shot melee comes out to 225. Nice. More confusion. Basically, the BR is the most inconsistent damage weapon in the game so far. Like, just use the Bandit at this point. All right. So we talked about the main weapon, and then we talked about a very notable weapon, the BR. Let's talk about the assault rifle. 215 damage. Yeah, it's just 1 less than the BR body shots only, but what? Why, like 215? That's at least it's not too far off, like I said, than that body shots only BR shots. Like, right, 216, that's only 1 off. Maybe that's the magic number, is 215. That's the damage you need to get, and then the rest is overkill. Regardless, if you're running around just getting assault rifle kills, you're actually doing less damage than people using the Bandit. So that could skew numbers, I guess. I don't know. Hopefully we don't see any weird numbers to come. All right, we talked about the notable assault rifle. What are some other notable things in Halo? Sticky grenades. Everyone's favorite plasma grenades, right? So if you stick a Spartan, how much damage does it do? 229, as we all thought. Back to those regular numbers. It feels good to say that 229 number again. With the mechanics of shooting grenades, how much damage does that do? 229, and don't stand too close. What if you just miss somebody with the plasma grenade though? How much damage are you gonna do? 220. What? You do 220 damage, but assault rifle is 215. A BR body shots only is 216. But you can do more damage with the plasma grenade, and they live? I am lost and confused. After hearing this 220 damage number, I was like, maybe there's a fluke with the BR. So I went ahead and did the body shots only test again, and I still got 216. I don't even know what this, like, the consistency is there, I guess, but the confusion and the consistency in damage numbers is not there. Like, it's, but what you can basically gauge from that is that if you damage somebody with a plasma grenade and don't kill them, you will actually do more damage than if you actually killed them with a BR or an assault rifle. On the theme of sticky grenades, we went ahead and tried the spike grenade, which if you stand directly on top of it, it'll do 224 damage to kill you. I'm moving past that because I just don't even care at this point. But if you stick them, still 229. There we go. The comfort number. We're back. I'm going to quickly talk about the commando because it is a small curveball where the perfect and the body shots only do 225 damage exactly. Don't know why, but hey, they do the same damage. But enough of that boring stuff. let's jump into the power weapons. A snipe to the body does 143 damage, which is kind of in that ballpark range of a 4-shot bandit, a 1 melee, or even a grenade throw. They're all kind of in that ballpark. So I guess it's safe to say that a shield, like the Spartan shield, is about 140, about 139 damage points. A headshot does 229 damage, not really a surprise there. And then 2 body shots still does 229 damage. Once again, we're in the safe zone, guys. 229, we're in that safe zone, which we will see more of the random body shot and headshot. Still 229, I don't think that comes as a surprise to anybody. But even a rocket launcher does 229 damage. But what if you miss with the rocket? Let's find out. Oops. Let's try that again. Okay, there's no way I mess it up a 3rd time. Okay, don't worry, guys. I don't mess up 6 times. Okay, 6 times. I do not mess up 6 times. A rocket miss, which could be a variety of spaces, but as close as I could get without killing the Spartan, does 145 damage, which is the most amount of damage that we've seen for that, like melee, sniper, that stuff. So overall, pretty impressive number. Shotguns come to no surprise of doing 229 damage no matter what. And same goes for a shock rifle perfect kill. But what about a shock rifle body shot? 69. Which, based off math, 2 body shots would be 138, which does check out. And if the math doesn't change, which last time I checked, math doesn't change, 3 body shots is what it takes to kill Spartan with the shock rifle. And 3 times 69 equals 207, which that's the lowest amount of damage I've seen it like to get a kill. So is the shock rifle actually the lowest amount of damage it takes to get a kill? Went ahead and tested it, and you guys guessed it, 227. Where does that other 20 damage come from? Like, is that just a built-in feature that I don't know. 227 damage is how much 3 shock rifle shocks do, but 1 just does 69. The shock weapons, to be fair, are very weird and unique, and we'll get into the others later, but that one threw me off, and it was really confusing. I don't know. It confused me. Maybe some of y'all know more about the shock rifle than I do, so let me know down in the comment section below. The shock rifle can also do that chain damage where you shoot something and then it chains to the Spartan, which if you were to do that, it does 36 damage to a Spartan. Now, if you were to do that to eventually kill a Spartan, it does 222 damage. So more randomness, and we love Halo. We love Halo. This does bring us to essentially our final power weapon of the video, which is going to be the Stalker Rifle. If you get 3 shots for the perfect kill, it does 229 damage. And if you do it body shots only, it does 228. I don't think that there's a rhyme or reason behind the numbers and why some do less than others. But if we're being honest, those 1s and 2s, like damage differences, aren't going to add up. Even if you get into like a 50 kill match, that's just going to be 50 to like 100 extra damage, right? Those 1s and 2s do not matter at the end of the day. All right, moving away from the power weapons, let's go to some weaker weapons with the pistols. A plasma pistol, which you can do a 5-shot to get them 1 shot, or a charge shot, will both do 139 damage. Now, if you were to completely kill somebody with it, 224. Moving on. The regular pistol does 227 as a perfect and 225 for body shots only. The Disruptor is one of those unique shock weapons, and so after you land 4 total shots, you break their shield and is the damage over time effect, which does 123 damage, and then if you were to shoot them 8 times, you do 229 damage, then that would fully kill the Spartan. Same thing if you were shooting the whole time, it still does that 229 damage. So after you shot somebody 8 times, it doesn't matter to keep going. But what if you were to shoot somebody 1 singular time with a Disruptor shot? You do a whopping 3 damage. That's right, 3 damage. I even tested it a second time and we still got 3 damage. That is the least amount of damage you can do to a Spartan with a weapon. That is incredibly low. So if you had the option between getting 1 Disruptor shot off or not doing anything at all, you might as well not do anything at all. Now, after doing all these testings, and if you didn't realize, I mostly pay attention to the HCS, so I'm not paying attention to all of those weapons that are exclusively in social games. I I don't have the time or really the want to learn more about those weapons because I'll never use them. But when it comes to this, these random small numbers here and there don't really mean that much. Something to pay attention to is kind of like the assists, right? You could shoot somebody more. You could do 3 shots of damage, and your teammate can get the other 2, and they'll do more damage than you. So those types of things will go into play, but then also things to take into consideration is you could be outputting damage but not actually getting kills, right? You could be suppressing somebody into a certain area or doing damage and then they get away and get their shields back or whatever it may be. There's so much more to the game than just doing damage by shooting, and also there's so much more than just hitting your shots. Like there's a lot of different ways to be doing damage. You could be running around with the sniper the majority of the game and just hitting those one shot body shots for 143 damage, or you could be running around and just meleeing people. Either way, there's no real way to figure out what's so weird about the damage stat versus the shots hit stat. I think that they both are really important, and more often than not they do go hand in hand. What really matters, though, is are you working as a team and are you winning games, right? So don't pay attention to the stats. They don't tell the full story. So many people will, try to use that as an excuse of, oh, my teammate went negative this game or blah, 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 whatever. It's like, how did you help that teammate, right? So once again, there's so much more to the game than just stats. I encourage you to look more into that. If you guys enjoyed this video, please drop a like. It'd be much appreciated. Comment down below your thoughts, opinions, anything like that. And then consider subscribing to see future content by myself. My name is Buck, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.